Hi everyone, so this is video number 7. The topic, as you can see, is the Tipitaka. The learning outcomes for this video are to be able to describe the key features of the Tipitaka and explain why the Tipitaka is important to some Buddhists. So our key words, first of all, Tipitaka, what is it? It is the 3 collections of sacred Buddhist books. So if a question, a defined question, were to come up in the exam, that is the ideal answer to it. So it's a good idea to try and memorize that as a definition. Now the Vinaya Pitaka is one of the 3 collections, and you've got the Sutta Pitaka and the Abhidhamma Pitaka. So I'll talk about each of these in turn now. So the Vinaya Pitaka, it contains the rules that monks and nuns have to follow. When you sign up to be a monk or a nun, you agree to these various rules. The Sutta Pitaka contains the teachings of the Buddha, which are presented as conversations between the Buddha and his followers. And then the Abhidhamma Pitaka contains discussions on how to interpret and understand the Buddha's teachings, because some of the dialogues are quite complicated, they're quite complex, and without a bit of guidance on how to interpret them, you could misunderstand what the Buddha was saying. So let's link this to specific exam questions. So in 2010 this question came up: do you think the Tipitaka should be used by all Buddhists? It's a B question, so 4 markers. What we need is 2 developed reasons to get all 4 marks. So you can ask yourself, how confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 if you were to try and answer that question now? And also you can ask yourself that question at the end of this video when you've finished watching it. Now this question here has not come up in a previous exam as far as I'm aware, but I'm putting it here because there are certain types of question that come around again and again. Explain why such and such is important to some Buddhists. So I'm just on the off chance that it comes up in this year's exam, I've written an answer to this, and we're going to try and work towards answering this question because it's an 8 marker. So if an 8 marker comes up on the Tipitaka, it's really crucial that we feel confident about answering that question. Okay, so let's move on. So what is the Tipitaka? The Tipitaka is sometimes called the Pali Canon. Now that's not canon like a weapon, that's canon, basically a body of literature. And Pali is the language in which it was written. Ti means 3 in Pali, and Pitaka means baskets. According to Buddhist tradition, the Buddhist scriptures were originally written down on palm leaves and then stored in 3 baskets, which may have looked something like that. That isn't what the 3 baskets look like now. You don't go into a Buddhist monastery and see something like that. Sometimes you do see something which looks a bit like this. So this gives you some idea of the scale of the Buddha's teachings. Just one of these volumes, if you take that one on the end, that's probably the same length as the whole of the Bible. So you can see there's an awful lot that the Buddha taught over the course of his life, because he taught for 45 years, often, you know, day after day, and people were memorizing his teachings every day, and so there's a vast number of Buddhist teachings. So the Vinaya Pitaka, we've looked a little bit at that. I'm going to sort of expand on that now. So it contains 227 rules that monks and nuns have to follow, and with each of the rules there's usually a story explaining why the Buddha created it. It wasn't that the Buddha sort of came up with 227 rules one day and said you've got to follow all of these. They were basically created, each of them, in response to a particular problem. So somebody sort of gets themselves into trouble in the Sangha, one of the monks or the nuns does something they shouldn't, and then the Buddha says, you know, we should probably have a rule to tell people not to do that, to keep people on the sort of straight and narrow. And also the rules aim to achieve a cohesive community, by which I mean keeping everybody together. The Sutta Pitaka. Okay, this contains the teachings of the Buddha, such as the 4 Noble Truths, which we've looked at, the Eightfold Path, which we've looked at in a previous video, the Dhammapada, which you will look at in the next revision video, and the Jataka stories or Jataka tales, which are stories about the Buddha's previous lives, some as a human being, some as an animal. Okay, then the Abhidhamma Pitaka. So It contains discussions, as I said earlier, on how to interpret and understand the Buddha's teachings. Now, some Buddhists feel that the work is that of the Buddha himself, that he was responsible for it, and other people believe that other Buddhists came along later. So there's some dispute over the authenticity. Is it the genuine word of the Buddha or not? Anyway, that's the key features of the Tipitaka, so we can give our first learning outcome the Mr. Powers tick. If we move on to the next learning outcome to explain why the Tipitaka is important to some Buddhists. So let's go straight to that exam question, that possible exam question for 2013. The Tipitaka is the 3 collections of sacred Buddhist books. The Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutta Pitaka and the Abhidhamma Pitaka. The Vinaya Pitaka contains the rules monks and nuns have to follow. These rules are important to some Buddhists because they help to create harmony in the Sangha, the Buddhist community. Without these rules, the Sangha might argue about what monks and nuns should and should not do. That's one nicely developed reason there, but we need another one for full marks. The Sutta Pitaka is important to some Buddhists because it contains the teachings of the Buddha, such as the Four Noble Truths. Buddhists believe that by following these teachings they too can achieve Nibbana. So that's a good use of key words there, Sangha, Noble Truths and Nibbana. And there are no spelling mistakes or punctuation mistakes or grammatical errors, so that's a clear understanding of the issue, 8 out of 8. Now this next question, explain why the Tipitaka is important to some... oh no, sorry, we've just done that, haven't we? Whoops. So hopefully, anyway, having seen that model answer, you'll feel more confident about answering that question should it come up. Ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you? If you need to go through the model answer again, then just play the video again. So the next question was, do you think the Tipitaka should be used by all Buddhists? Give 2 reasons for your point of view. So we need 2 developed reasons. So let's have a look at a model answer for that. So do you think the Tipitaka should be used by all Buddhists? Yes, because it contains the teachings of the Buddha. That's a simple reason. All Buddhists should learn the things the Buddha taught and try to apply them to their lives. That's a development. So you've got 1 developed answer. Also, although the Vinaya Pitaka contains rules which apply only to monks and nuns, the Sutta Pitaka contains guidance for lay people as well. The Tipitaka as a whole, therefore, shows all Buddhists how to live, so it should be used by all Buddhists. 2 developed reasons, 4 out of 4. Okay, so that's our second learning outcome ticked off. So let's quickly just run through the keywords. Tipitaka, what is it? Here's a clue. The 3 collections of sacred Buddhist books. Vinaya Pitaka, what is it? Here's a clue. Here's another one. The rules that monks and nuns have to follow. The Sutta Pitaka, what is it? Here's a clue. It contains the teachings of the Buddha which are presented as conversations between the Buddha and his followers. And the Abhidhamma Pitaka, what is it? Here's a clue. Here's another one. This contains discussions on how to interpret and understand the Buddha's teachings. So that's our 2 learning outcomes met. The next video for you to watch is on the Dhammapada. Thanks a lot.